Thanks very much. Apologies if some of you have seen this before. I've tried to mix it up a little bit and add a few little slides in. One thing I also want to show you, that's why I have my own laptop, is to show you how simple it is to actually use the software, to actually use, to think in 3D. Like for me, BIM, I'll go through a bit of history on it, but BIM for me and thinking and doing 3D, it's about communication. It's about communicating your ideas very clearly to everybody and working together as a collaborative team. That's contractors, architects, engineers, M&E, everybody's involved in it, clients particularly. So hopefully I'll portray that in the presentation here. So I suppose for me that's what BIM means in practice. It's about sharing knowledge, about sharing ideas. I'm going to hopefully explain what it means for smaller practice, and I think it's applicable for bigger practice. Is it worth it? For me, 100% yes. 100% definitely, I'm completely converted. I'll focus on Revit because that's where I started at the time when we got involved in Revit. So the learning curve, I won't be telling you lies, I'm going to shoot straight from the hip. There's a huge learning curve. It's the same as going from a drawing board to CAD. And probably more involved, to be honest. It does take time. You need to resource time in your offices or in your construction firms to upskill people. It does take money. You have to invest in the software, to invest in the lost time that does, and it does require a lot of training and periodic training as you work your way. So for us in history, we started in 2007. A sales rep came in to do an audit on the IT in the office, and we were happily using a free license of AutoCAD Lite and SketchUp, and I was happy out. We were producing a huge amount of work. Within 5 minutes of seeing the presentation of the software, I said, this is the future. This takes mundanity out of what we do as a profession for me. I don't know how to use CAD. I hate opening the software. The only reason I have to open it is to actually get information out of it, and then I get rid of it. I don't know how I used to design in 2D, to be honest. We always design in 3D. The software makes you think in 3D, you design in 3D, you communicate in 3D, you communicate with everybody in 3D. The numbers required to run a project, you'll see I'm going to show a little bit of the library. We had 2 people that ran a 3 million project on site, and an assistant that was 2.5 to 3. The reason I do this is because it gives more time for a capital A in my practice, which is architecture. I can think more, in theory, about how I want it to be and how I want it to look. So this is the practice, or the first project that we did in proper BIM. I suppose it wasn't level 2 BIM because we hadn't got a buy-in. Interestingly, the contractor bought into BIM. They now implement BIM in the work that they do. A very good contractor, I should say, is MDY Construction. I had an excellent time with them. Also, Southern County Council, who are our clients in this, they've implemented BIM into their practice as well. They saw the benefits of it. So I think it's a very interesting learning curve. So basically, it was 3 projects which we had. We had the library, which we finished last, the community centre, which was a refurbishment, and then a pastoral centre. So these images are straight from the software. There's no fantastic render systems here. This is straight from the software itself. These are the pastoral centre, some of the finished images of it, internal courtyard. This was really interesting for us in terms of our first real exploration into using the software. This is render straight from, I think actually through 3D Max, through a guy I had working at the office at the time. So that was the render, which we were able to discuss with the client, and that's the completed image. So you can see how close it actually gives you information and visualization. And that doesn't take very long to produce that type of information. Again, the sort of main room itself. So to get started, to get into BIM, most people I don't know if they're actually into BIM or they're thinking about getting into BIM. It's fearful. I was fearful when I had it. This laptop that I have in front of me nearly went out the window a good few times trying to learn how to use the software, I'll admit. It doesn't do it anymore, thankfully. Okay, so you just need to jump in the deep end. If you want to do it, do it. As excuse the French, don't piss in the pot or get off it. Okay, if you're going to implement BIM, do it. So that doesn't mean you throw everybody from the office into it, but throw a team into it that starts it. So what I suggest is, apart from the obvious stuff of buying software, good RAM and all that type of stuff, for smaller practices, Revit Lite's an option. You don't have an important thing which is called work sharing, where all of us in this room could work on the same model at the one time. That's the only downside, but it's a cheaper form of actually using the software and get you into it quick enough. So that's the work sharing. You can transfer, if you're still in CAD, from 2D to CAD. I have no experience in this software, but I came across it recently. So what I would suggest, in the library project that we did, we got ArcDocs, were very helpful with us. We actually asked them to make a model for us, and that was our big step. So that was the big learning curve for us. We got a model, and then we used that model as a basis to move forward. There's other companies that do that, but ArcDocs particularly do that. I'm not just singing them out for praise, but that was the route that we took. So I'd say get a model made, and then that whole scary thing about, because when you open up particularly Revit, the basic template is horrid. It looks terrible, it is terrible, but when you know how to simply manipulate it, then it becomes a very useful, simple way to do it. So what I suggest is that you get, in a smaller practice, you get one member up to speed, or you might get a team that will get up to speed. They will share the knowledge with other people. Like I remember when we were doing the library, we went up to ArcDocs for a week, and my understanding of the software went from reasonably competent to exceptional. Because if you can ask somebody, how do I do this? You don't get the laptop, you don't throw it out the window. You know what the answer is. I used to always say I go around with a t-shirt saying Revit says no. It doesn't do that anymore. It's very positive. It's expensive, but the productivity is exceptional. So some tips and tricks. When you speed up, the most important thing in Revit particularly, I think it's the same in other softwares, is that you call these things American software, it's called families. It's where I can make a laptop, where I can make a chair, a table, a window, a door, kitchen equipment, etc. This is where the power comes into it. So this is a simple bin store that we did in a small project. The bin stores themselves, or the bins themselves, we got them off a website. So what I do is I put in what I want, put in Revit, and you get a list of information, and then you can find what you want. So to make up the bin store itself probably took about 2 or 3 hours. I have a drawing that I can produce, I have a 3D drawing that it's about communication for me. People can see it, clients can see it, people who put it together can see it. So the interesting thing about Revit is that it's the same methodology. What I mean by that is it's the same process. It's the same interface once you use the software itself. You react to it exactly the same. So once you understand the logic of the writers of how they actually made the software, it becomes second nature. You don't even think about what you're doing. So what we've done is we've set up a good template. So we have a template that we transfer between projects. So say like for a small domestic project, we model in the same place. What happens is then that starts to populate sheets. Information starts to gather. You make the model, you make the new design, you put simple things like a radiator in, a schedule populates. That's all set up in a template. That's how you save time. You're not getting into mundanity of constantly reproducing the same information all the time. So this is the schedule of powers, the understanding the power of a schedule and the intelligence of the software. So like in 2D information, you can model everything if you want, but your machine will explode. So what you need to do is model accurately, but sparsely. That's correctly dimensioned, so you know what size something is, and then you add the detail afterwards. So within that as well, you can tell a line that a line is a DPDM or a DPC or a vapor barrier, and then you can tag that within the software, and you can give it codes to show it so that it knows what it is. So again, the benefits for us, we always think in 3D, always constantly looking at the model in 3D. Productivity is exceptional. Small domestic projects, if we go out and we survey a house, I'm giving you an example because I'm here for the small practices. If I go out and survey a house and we come back in, within 4 to 6 hours we would have the property models. We'll have elevations, we'll have sections, we'll have plans, we'll have everything ready to go to get on to thinking about what wonderful ideas we're going to do. So again, we can draw it very quickly. Design options, once you know what you're doing, they're very quick to make once you have the template set up. You can have various design options within the software as well. For me, the software takes the mundanity away, that you can cut a section any way you want, and you can very quickly create information very, very quickly in it. You can do very quick renders, which I sort of showed you. And the most important thing at the very early stage, and I think this is really key, is you can share the model with a client. We're doing a project at the moment, which hopefully I'll show you some images of, and we're obviously using the 3D software to explain how it's put together and what it looks like. And interestingly, the interior designer we work with gave a little small, lovely little sketch of a very simple object. And the client came back with a smart comment about that it was very technically produced image. So it's very interesting that we've actually converted this client over to understanding the benefits of what the software is, and using this thing, the DWF viewer, you can export your model and you can actually get your client to walk around the model. You can do this with contractors as well. You can do this with other consultants. And again, the benefit is it's communication. What we find about this is that clients and other people involved, the brief gets really, really crystallized because people can actually see. And many people don't understand a plan, section, and elevation. Actually, apart from, say, getting stuff built on site, we actually don't give sections or elevations to clients. We give them 3D images. We share the 3D model to them. That's the real benefit for us. So these are some images that come straight from it, from the software itself. So in detailing, you have the straightforward sections that come out of the model with a little bit more added, and then also you can see you can add on 3D images. So again, it's about reinforcing the idea of what it is. Keynotes, as we all know from NBS. So once you tell an element within the model what it is, it always knows what it is. So you can simply put your keynotes down whichever way you wish to do it on it, and you don't have to keep telling it what it is. It knows what it is once you do it. That's the benefit of being parametric. Again, in smaller sort of projects and standard sort of typical details that we would use, these are 2D details that we've worked up. You can simply copy these from one project to the next. So you don't have to constantly keep reinventing. We keep all the sheet numbers the same, so there's a logic about the whole way that the whole system is organised. Again, sort of more sort of simple the details. And I think that the detailing is much, much easier to do in Revit than it ever was in CAD. You're not worrying about is a blue line a 0.5 pen, because it actually shows you what you can see. There's components within the software, so you can get all your nuts and bolts and literally everything into it. Again, some more detailing. The schedule, so this is a typical schedule. We have this set up, we have a sheet set up that sits in the background. You put in the information. I can give this information to an M&E consultant, or I can give it to a plumber on site. He knows how many radiators he has to put in. He knows how many toilets he has to plumb. It's much easier to price. Again, it's about communication of information. It's not just a drawing. So this is, I'll show you a little bit about this. This is if anybody's interested in whiskey, this is probably going to be, not because I've designed it, but the best whiskey bar in the country. Probably actually, I think it's going to be one of the best in the world. You're going to have 750 whiskies to taste. 450 are going to be Irish. It's one of my part-time passions. Anybody who knows me, I adore the stuff. So, but you can see here we've designed around casks, and this you'll be able to actually bottle your own bottle of whiskey. So the important thing again is once you have it in your head and you know what it's going to be, to do this took about 3 to 4 hours. So I have an elevation, I have a plan, and I've got 3Ds. So if I sit down with a subcontractor, I can say, this is what it looks like. They get it. They're not saying, what's happening here, what's happening there. I can rotate the model, and we can all discuss and iron out the issues that happen. Again, this is the back of the whiskey bar. You got shelves. These are all sort of made up as different families. You can get information off the web quite readily. Again, a lot of people think that Revit doesn't do pretty drawings. I think it can, if you know how to use it, if you actually get into how to understand how to use it. And interestingly, through my journey with Revit, I've been asked to go into DIT, and we're implementing a BIM into the School of Architecture through all the 4 years. And I suppose the way I look at it is, rather than trying to bamboozle a student who is grappling with the software, is to, I remember I used to have a picture of Garfield, and he had a stack of 10 books on his head, and he says, I'm learning by osmosis. So my theory is that what we do is we teach them how to use the software, but don't teach them about BIM, but indirectly they understand what BIM is. So that you actually understand the benefits of thinking in 3D, and then it becomes second nature to them. So again, some more images. So the software, I'll come back to this probably at the very end. It's just to show you, most people talk about how fantastic it is. And I think Ger is here. Ger gave us the first 5-minute presentation, and I knew this was the future. And I think when you see it, and you understand how you actually interact with the software, you understand the benefits of it. So the key point for me, a couple of key points, this is the main key point. You have to draw. It's a design, it's a tool. If I don't know what it is here, it's not going to produce down here. You still have to think about what you're going to do. You still have to communicate with people. You still have to get collaboration with everybody. So in, say, the library, I would have spent about 2 weeks developing up this idea, and then that gets implemented when you know how everything goes together. But you have to know what it is before you do it. So it's a tool, it's not a design machine. You have to know what it is before it can come out. It does take time. You have to allow for that time. And there is a learning curve, but it definitely is worth it. So some links, I think this was shared, that some of these links, but some of the ones that we found quite good. Obviously the Revit User Group Ireland, they meet once a quarter. They go through architecture, M&E, structural and other sort of topics they're worth attending. Revit City, this is sort of more of American. It's sort of nerds who just make stuff. So you'll get trucks, you'll get fire ambulances, you get everything you want. They're handy if you're looking for quirky stuff, like the bin store or the bin I got from Revit City. It's not 100% accurate because they're made from people who haven't made sort of, I suppose, standardized objects. BIMstore.co.uk is much better. It's getting much better all the time. They would have Dorma, they would have the manufacturers that produce and feed information to you that's accurately made, that has web links, that has all the F&M, the level 2 plus information built into it. NBS Create is probably the best for manufacturer input. They've doors, they've windows, they've valves, they've M&E, they've structure, they've everything sort of near enough that you want. One that we came across recently was Modular. They do floor finishes, they do wall finishes, they do furniture. Don't use it that much. The magnificent YouTube, if you're interested in listening to, no disrespect to many Americans, will tell you how to do it. It's amazing how, even now, the stuff that I wouldn't know, that I will just go, problem, Revit, get a YouTube video up, within 5 minutes you have an answer. So there's an abundance of information out there that you can find if you do get stuck. So it's definitely worth doing it. And in the way I was saying, I put the word Revit in and what I'm looking for, and then I get an answer. So there's a lot of information there. So you will be stressed. This machine, I don't know how it survived 8-9 years. It's due an upgrade, but it is stressful. I won't lie to you. It does take time, but the journey is definitely worth it. So thanks for your thoughts. Hopefully I was sort of clear about what it was. And what I might do, just to finish off, is to show you the software. And I'll move down here, if I may. Okay, so hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me. So this is how you look at the model. Okay, this is fairly straightforward. That's on it. Okay, so this is simply how you interact with the software and how we communicate with clients, how we communicate with people, everybody that's involved in the project. So the magic thing is to go Shift W, and you get this magic wheel. And all you can go orbit, you can pan, you can walk. So basically, very simply, I can walk around what we've created. So you can see. And this is where you get your whiskey. So you can see, you can have a look around, you can see everything that you want to see. So that's a very basic, simple, non-graphic method. The clarity that it gives to clients, it's so easy. We use this all the time to communicate and walk people around. Then you have the 3D, because everything's made in 3D. And so if I'm, say, going in and I'm meeting the guy who's making the shelves, I can zoom in and I can show him what the shelf looks like. I can cut it, I can pull it, I can rotate it. The power in communication, in thinking in 3D and communicating in 3D is what, at the basic, is what BIM is about. This is why I saw it as the future when Ger went through how you use the software. This is the benefit. Like these shelves would have taken half an hour to an hour to make. And then you just simply make different types of versions of it. You can go in, you can pick it. This is all the lovely models. And then I have a thing that I can show somebody. So this is the power, and for me it's about accuracy. Again, I was saying you don't detail every little curve and every little bit, but if you know what the height and the width of a bottle is, you know that it fits. If you design all your M&E structure, if you design all your drain pipes, where do they go?
you have to know where to go. Software allows you to do that. BIM allows you to do that. So for me, that's why I think that BIM is the future. It saves time with design. You get a much better, clearer brief out of a client. The contractor knows what they're putting together, and then the information can transfer over for F&M, for future levels, that people actually know what it is. So clients will bring me and say, who was the guy who put such and such in? When you have a model that has all that information in one place, that's the power of BIM for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. That was great. As good as the last time. Do we have any questions from the floor for Gary at this stage? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yes, please.
Hi there. I'm a northern person, but I'm just down here for the day. Just wanted to ask, from an architectural perspective, the level of detail that you put into your drawings. Obviously, this is a key part of sharing information, and the amount of property information that's going to be attached to the drawing. Where do you see the break point between the geometrical information that's stored on the drawing and the asset information in regards to what COBE is going to be all about? How do you marry up? Do you see more information being stored in the model that will be then transferred into COBE format?
Yeah, like the way I'd see it, like say the library projects, we gave our clients the model, and so we literally had made families for everything, emergency light fitting sockets, and what they can see the benefit in terms of F&M particularly is that the information of what the product is, when it was put in, when it's due a service, all that information should be embedded in it. So rather than having to go to a model, going to a spreadsheet, going to this, that everything is into one place. That's the power I can see in it. And so that's why with the COBE, I believe that as much information as possible should be in the model, as physically possible. And it is becoming much easier because there's so many much more add-ons that you can put onto the software. But you can insert loads of information into the model very easily if you know how to do it.
It's just as a matter of interest to the Irish marketplace that I have a lot of exposure into the UK marketplace, and one of the findings that I'm finding is the architectural services are actually behind Ireland, just as a matter of interest.
Did I say that again, sorry?
The architectural services, that the skill sets are actually behind where Ireland's at. And that's just as a matter of note to the audience here, because one of the biggest issues that I see going forward is the level of detail that's going to be provided within the drawing and how that is managed. And I'm not just talking about the geometrical detail, I'm talking about the property items within the drawing itself, because I see that as being a core element to providing a lot of information for the COBE information, because PAS 1192, one of the biggest issues that I've seen, I've been at a lot of conferences across the UK, is how how are they going to deal with this additional information that's required for the COBE data exchange?
I agree, and I think that like the first step is to get people using the software and to think BIM, and then I think that will naturally come, because it is the journey to make something, like the journey to make that in the software is difficult. But once you get over that and that becomes irrelevant, then the information that is really important in the COBE, that just automatically starts to filter in. But there's another skill set, it's another level. There's so many levels in the software and in BIM, so you need to obviously do one step at a time.
Gary, Michael Murphy from BAM. Firstly, congratulations. I have to say it really is refreshing to see a presentation like that from an Irish practice.
Thanks so much.
Very, very impressed. A question I have for you, what advice or what lessons learned do you have as a practice that you could even impart to the room? I know there are a lot of Irish practices examining this, looking at it, possibly struggling in areas. What would be your top lessons learned?
Well, for me, top lesson, top lesson learned for me would be, apart from jumping in the deep end, is if you're fearful, get a model made, get started, and then you'll learn. But for me, the top benefit I've got from working with it is communication to everybody. Like I'm a firm believer in being a team player. I'm not interested in saying I'm the architect, you're the contractor. If everybody works together, there's a much better relationship. You get a much better product out of it at the end of it. So it's about getting involved in BIM to make everybody's life much easier. It's hard enough to build a bloody building. So we all work together. That's the benefit I've seen. You share information, and I think when you give people information in good faith, I think you get the payback. So that's the biggest lesson and benefit that I've got out of it. So jump in the deep end and not be afraid of it.
Yeah, thanks. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again. Thank you very much again, Gary. It's an excellent presentation. So I think.